Hi. In this video, I'll describe the changes made in Flightplan Visualizer version 1.15. The installer comes with a total of 738 flight plans. And this version also comes with a lot of added aircraft. I know some users have had difficulties importing the latest flight plans from Alpha India Group because they were utilizing some aircraft that was not in the data files before. This video will be split in three parts. The first part I will describe the flight plan filter. The second part I will describe how to substitute user airlines. And in the third part I'll go through some of the other changes in this version. The about box of the program will contain a full list of all the changes and fixes. I'll not go through them all in this video, so consult the list from the about box to see a full list of all the changes. The first released version of Flightplan Visualizer came with 300 flight plans. This latest version, 1.15, comes with 738 bundle flight plans. And beside that, you can download an additional package containing more than 380 business jet flight plans. If you install and activate them all, you will have more than 1100 flight plans. All of these flight plans are listed in this combo box, and finding the right one can take some time. You can press the first letter. For example, if I press S, it will show the first starting with S, but still there's a lot of flight plans to go through. For this version, I added this filter. And as you can see, when you hover the mouse over this filter dialog, it shows a tooltip with showing how to use the filter. In the most basic form, you simply enter the text you want to filter by. For example, I can enter the text best. And now when I open the flight plan combo box, it would have filtered the flight plans to only show those where West is part of the name. In this case, West is in the middle of the flight plan name, and down here you see all the flight plans begin with West. The way it works is more or less like a DOS wildcard. In DOS, you could enter an asterisk in the beginning and asterisk in the end, and that means that the X is everything and nothing, meaning that doesn't have to be anything in front of West, but it's okay if it is, and if there is anything in front of it, we don't care what it is. Likewise, the last asterisk, it means there can be nothing after West, or there can be anything after West. So basically, this wildcard says West just have to be a part of it. Since I guess most people would simply enter a text up here, these wildcards, you don't need to insert the first and the last asterisk because they are inserted automatically. So just you enter the text West, it will filter on this. However, if you want to specify that the name have to begin with West, you have to suppress that automatic inserted wildcard. And the way you do it is using double quotes. So if I enter a double quote in front of West, I tell the program not to insert that wildcard. So it forces a filter where we only see those where the name start with West. Also, you can use the wildcard in the middle of this search text. So you can say, we have to have the text VE, and then we'll have a T. So an S between would be okay. If there was an airline that had the name Wet, that will be okay also. And we could have the VE, then a lot of text, and then the T later in the text, and it will still be part of it. For example, this one, you have VE in power and you have the T in south. So that's how it's working. Also, like a DOS wildcard, instead of an asterisk to say any or none, you can use the question mark. And the question mark is a single char, a single character. So in this case, it could be an S, but it could also be any other character, but it have to be one single character. So when I open now, you see we don't have the one with the power in the name anymore, because that does not comply with our filter. Another way to use it, for example, we could say BAL question mark IC. And in this case, it's a substitute for the T in Baltic. You are able to enter multiple things to filter. And in that case, you need to separate them by comma. So I could see west, comma, east, north, south. And now when I open the filter, you will only see airlines that have northwest, east, and south as part of the name: Air North, EasterJet, China Southern, China Eastern, and so on. Beside filtering on the name of the flight plan, you can, as listed in this tooltip, you can search on the author, the provider, the year, the season, and the folder. To search for a specific author of the flight plan, you write author equal, and it turns red now to inform you that this is not a valid filter, but as I start typing, it will be. So I can say Christian. And now I see all the flight plans that Christian has made. Most of these also have a shortcut. So instead of writing the full text author, you can simply enter A equals, and it's the same result. Likewise, we can search for the provider. And this is Johan Clausen, the flight plans he made by himself. They are released as the provider JCAI. And you can filter by these also. And again, as a shortcut, you simply write P, and that works in the same way. Also, you can search for flight plans for a specific year by writing year equal 2018, for instance. You will both see summer 18 and winter 18 flight plans. And as before, you can use a shortcut. Instead of writing year, you can simply enter Y, and you don't have to say it's 2000, so you can just say like this: year equals 18, and it's the same result. Searching for season, write the full text: season equals summer, and we see everything. We can combine these searches. For example, if I only want to see year 18, I can add a comma, Y equal 18. And now when I open, I will only see summer 18. And like before, this one has a shortcut also. If my mouse will do what I want it to do. S. And then just the first two letters, either SU or WBI. And this also you can combine with the other. For example, I don't know if there are any, but I can say comma west. And then you see it. These three filter kinds are three different filters. One is for season, one is for year, and one is for the name. Different filter types are ANDed, mean they all have to be true. In this case, it will only show flight plans that are summer 18 containing the word west. However, when you have multiple filters of the same type, for example, the name, and I enter east and north and south, still the season have to be summer, the year have to be 18, but all flight plans that contains either west, east, north or south will be listed in this list box. Last but not least, you can also filter by folder. If you go into this enable disable flight plans, you see I have no flight plans in my route folder. However, I have a commercial folder that is active, that contains all my commercial flights. And I have a BizJet folder also active, containing my BizJet flights. So if I clear the filter, and I can write folder equal BizJet. So now I will only see my BizJet flights, and like before, I can further add text, say season equals summer, year equal 18. And now I only see my summer 18 business jet flights. I know most of you will probably think this is a bit nerdy, and most of you will simply enter text. For example, if I want to find Scandinavian airline, I can enter SAS, and it will quickly limit the list, so it's easy for me to pick the one I want to use. So I think most of you will find this a quick help to quickly find the flight plans you need to find. I have thought about adding the same feature for the search form. So in a future version, I think I will add a filter about these three list views, so you can quickly filter these lists as well, because likewise here you see many. Here you have all the active flight plans. Here you have all the airlines that are included in flight plans, and all the aircraft in use in different flight plans. So it will make it more easy to quickly find what you need to find. But that's for a future update. In this second part of the video, I will show you a new feature that allows you to substitute user airlines. Version 1.14, I added a feature that allows you, the user, to add your own airlines. Normally, I will release a new version every 2 or 3 months. And when I do, I will include the latest released flight plans. And I will also have updated the data files supplied with the program. In many cases, Alpha India Group will make flight plans for airlines that they had not previously made the flight plans for. And in some cases, my data file is not containing that airline. So by adding that feature in version 1.14, you as the user can add the airlines I have not yet added myself. And this will allow you to import these new versions, these new flight plans. If you find any data missing, whether it be airlines, aircrafts, airports, anything, I would like if you notify me in the forum, and that will help me to add these missing data to the data files. In this aspect, I would like to send a big thank you to Bruce for helping me maintaining some of these airlines. It's a big help, so thanks for that. if we go into the MISC menu and choose User Airlines, you can see I have added 2 airlines here. My own airline and a fake Scandinavian. This airline I called MOA, short for my own airline. And I am in version 1.15 shown that there is alternatives. This one is shown with an asterisk telling me that this is a user airline. This one without the asterisk is one of the airlines from the official file I supply with the software. Likewise, this fake Scandinavian I made, I used the correct ICAO code and IATA code for Scandinavian. And you see here that the program suggests this to be to use this one instead, as it's the real one. But let's save that for later and import 2 flight plans using these 2 airlines. So I go to import. I just choose an arbitrary flight plan to import. And I choose my fake SAS, for example. You see the asterisk here. I double click. And it asks if I want to set that as the operator and the carrier. It's these fields, and I say yes. And I save it. I import yet another one. Again, just choosing an arbitrary. And in this case, I choose this one, my own airline. And I import it. When you import flight plans, they're always imported into the root folder, and that is one reason I choose to have my flight plans available here in the commercial folder. If you want to know more about management of flight plans, there is a chapter in the manual, and here in the video tutorials for version 1.11. This video also contains some information of using that form. But let's go again to our user airlines. Now, one of the new columns in version 1.15 tells you that these are in use. There are there are flight plans using these 2 user airlines. Let's, as an example, think that the user made this Scandinavian airline because it was not in the data file. Now you have updated to a new version. And in the alternatives list, you see there is an alternative. So instead of using your user created Scandinavian, you could opt to use the real Scandinavian. And the way you do it is you choose the airline and then you press the substitute button. In this case, the program only suggests a single alternative, but there could be multiple. When I go to substitute, all these alternatives are listed up here. So you can simply pick one of these, or if the one you want to use is not visible, you can search for it in here. But in this case, it finds the real Scandinavian, and I press OK. Now that flight plan is no longer using the fake Scandinavian. It's using the real Scandinavian. So if I don't need this fake anymore because I have the real one, so I can delete it. And press save. It will reload the active flight plans. And if memory serves me correct. So if I choose the ABEX, you see that the fake SAS have now been replaced by the real SAS. Likewise, if we go again to user airlines, we can substitute this one. It suggests we use the real MOA For this example, it's okay because it's an arbitrary airline, but otherwise you would choose the right one to use. You press OK. It will go through all flight plans utilizing this airline, and now you say it's no longer in use. So you can delete this user airline and press save. So those of you who import flight plans yourself and add user flight plans, this is what you do whenever I release a new version. If you want to only have one version of the airlines, you should switch all your flight plans into using the official airline and then delete the user airlines. But it's natural up to you if you want to. In this last part of the video, I will show some of the other things added in version 1.15. I will not show anything, and I will not show all of the fixes that are made. And for that, I suggest you look in the About box. The About box will contain the full history with all the changes in this version, so you can look here what's have changed. One of the big changes in this version is the data files. In this version, I have added a lot of extra aircraft that was not previously in the data file. Some of you who have been importing flight plans yourself and have notified me about some aircraft that were missing. And in version 1.14 and previously, you were not able to import a flight plan if the program could not find the correct aircraft to use. And for this reason, I've added a lot of aircraft. Some of these are retro aircraft, no longer in use, but there are still flight plans referencing them. So that's the reason you will see something like the Concorde or the BAC 111 and so on. Also, some of the aircraft that have been added are not aircraft typical in use in flight plans, but it's to prepare for the future. As you can see, some of them are aircraft that are expected to release with the new 2020 flight simulator from Microsoft, for example, the Robin DR400 and the Merdicap 10 and the Diamond and so on, the X-Cup. But as per always, if you find data missing, please notify me. To add the aircraft, I would at least need to know the ICAO code and IATA code for that aircraft, because I would rather not have to use fictitious ICAO codes or IATA codes for aircraft. Anyway, these are the new aircrafts added with version 1.15. As I hinted before, when you import a flight plan in version 1.14, it was only possible if it knew the aircraft. For example, if I import, this is the unzipped folder. It contains the unzipped version of the last flight plan I imported. And you see it imported with no problem. However, if I edit the aircraft file, you can see these are the names of the aircraft. And based on this name, the program will try to work out the aircraft type when it imports it. And in this case, we've rerun the import again. Show the lists. No, there's no need to. We have the names here, and you can see based on the names, it correctly works out this, the aircraft types. However, if we change the name, I save the file. Next time when I try to import it, I'm told that it cannot work out this aircraft type. The program have no idea which aircraft it is. In version 1.14 and previous, this was a showstopper. If the program could not work out the aircraft type, you are not able to import that flight plan. However, as a new feature in 1.15, you are able to import it. It's if it's not able to work out the type, you see this text, dummy aircraft must be replaced. And this DMY is short for dummy, whereas the other one have the text auto to say they have been automatically been detected. If I try to save this flight plan, I get an error saying it's not possible because it is a dummy aircraft. So even though you import a flight plan that have an unsupported aircraft, you will have to choose another aircraft, and I would suggest you choose a similar aircraft. In this case, I know which aircraft it is, so I can simply change the aircraft type and say it's a 300 freighter. It still say it's a dummy aircraft, but now we have changed the type, so you are able to save the flight plan. When perhaps in a future version I have added support for that aircraft that was missing, you will have some flight plans that are utilizing aircrafts that where you have used a dummy, but now perhaps the new version have the correct aircraft that was missing before. So instead of you having to remember which flight plans were using which dummy aircrafts, you can simply go into the reprocess flight plans menu. And here in the aircraft redetection, you simply choose to redetect all dummy aircraft. And then you press OK to process all flight plans. When you do this, it will go through all flight plans. It will find the dummy aircraft and it will see if this version have support for it. In this case, it will not, because it's still a dummy aircraft. So you are told that it remains unchanged as the one you manually chose, and it was not able to find the correct one. If this version had the correct one, you would be notified that it had changed it to the new type it was automatically able to detect. So you are not able to add aircraft types yourself, and the reason for that is because I need to keep sure there's a consistency in the data that the program uses, and the data file for each aircraft contain a lot of information that are used below the surface that you'll never see. So I don't think I will allow users to add aircraft themselves, but in the meantime, from version 1.15 and forward, you are able to choose a substitute. In version 1.15, I also added multiple most recent used lists. A most recent use list is a list of items where the most recent used are always moved to the top. For instance, if I enter the text Danish in the filter, and I, based on this selection, choose the flight plan, you see Danish will be moved to the top of the list. And this most recent use list will contain up to 20 items. For example, here you see Baltic as the second last. If I search for Baltic and I choose an airline, a flight plan, you will see Baltic have been moved to the top of the list. It's no longer the second last. So it helps you if you want to search the same thing that you just previously searched. This feature have been added to the data browsers as well. For example, Control A to search for airport. Here you see the last time I searched for anything, it was Los Angeles, Clacks. And here also you see the list of the things I have searched previously. For example, Luxembourg, ELLX is the third last. Searching for it. And you have to choose it, so I choose it. Next time I press Control A, you can see this is what I searched for the last time. And it's in the top of the list. It's no longer the third last. So the last 20 things you search are still here. The same is valid if you search for an airline. You can see the last 20 things that have been searched. Searching for an aircraft. It's the same. The last 20 things you have searched are in the list. A new chart have been added to the airport info. If I choose Copenhagen, I go to traffic and I choose to see all flights in and out of Copenhagen, not just for the selected flight plan. The second chart is a new one. Here we have the weekdays, and the last one is an average of these 7 weekdays. So you can see the number of international flights. For example, on a Wednesday, there are 340 inbound international flights into Copenhagen. And there are 24 domestic flight inbound to Copenhagen on a Wednesday. If we choose an airport for a country with states, for example, Los Angeles, KLX. Now when I go to the traffic tab and I choose to see them all and select this new one, you will see we have a third one. On a Wednesday in Los Angeles, you have 176 inbound flights that are international. You have 692 that are domestic, but from different states. And then you have 187 that they're domestic also, but they're from the same state. So this new chart will tell you the percentage of the kind of flights you see at that airport on a particular weekday or in average of the different types, which are international, which are domestic, and which are same state. Also, in this version, you will be able to see the utilization percent of the aircraft for the flight plans. Here I have Air Baltic, and I choose to edit, and I generate the fleet report. You can see that the fleet of Air Baltic is 34 aircraft, and they have an global utilization of 45%. This is the total, but you can see here for each aircraft, this aircraft have an utilization of almost 50%, this one 35%, and so on. The utilization percent is the amount of time during a week that the aircraft is servicing a flight. So the timer starts ticking as soon as the aircraft will leave the gate, and the timer will stop ticking as soon as the aircraft stops at the gate. So in this case, the aircraft is servicing flight 35% of the time, and 50% of the time it will be parked at the gates. Likewise, if I choose a flight, right-click it, and ask to see the route info, and I double-click it, now I see a weekly schedule for a specific aircraft, and down here I can see the utilization of that aircraft. A user requested being able to easily pick favorite airports. Normally, to pick an airport to be your favorite, you would have to double click it and then click favorite airports, or you could use the search feature where you could right click and say toggle favorite. But now it's able to do this directly from the map. If I want to make this a favorite, I can simply right click and toggle it to be a favorite. So this way it's easy for you to set up your favorite airports instead of having to use the search feature or having to open the airport info form. I did some minor changes to the unit conversion also in this version. Now it remembers the things you have used the last time. For example, it's now 250 knots. If I enter 200 and exit the field, close the form and open it again, it will remember it was 200 knots the last time. Likewise, the fuel density in the previous version, it was a fixed value, but now it will be a drop down where it's a most recent use list also. It remembers the 20 last values you use. These are wrong by a factor of 10,000. It's not a bug in the program, it's a bug in my data, my personal data. So, for example, it shows down here that typical Jet A will be 0.82 or 804. So now these two values will be in the top of the list, and you can see these values over here change when I select another one. So these were the things I chose to show for this version, or otherwise look in the about box to see what else has changed.